everyone, and welcome to Once Upon a Time at the Oscars.
The show that takes you through every Best Picture nominee from 1927 to today.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Ryan.
And today we're smiling from ear to ear because we can't wait to talk about this movie.
And also because this is the first movie of this sixth Academy year that we're going to cover.
I completely forgot about it, but here we are.
This is not the first year, but it is the second year, hopefully I'm getting this right, that you have not seen these movies. At least in totality. You've seen some of them.
I have not seen any of these movies. Yes, that is correct. I've not seen a single one of these movies.
I thought you'd seen Fugitive.
From Chain Gang?
Yeah.
No, never. I own
not the
it.
Harrison Ford movie, but like, yes. Yeah.
I didn't kill my wife. I don't care.
I don't care. Yes, okay. So you've not seen any of these movies.
Not at all.
Neither have I. So another second year in a row we're doing this.
My favorite kind of year, honestly.
Very fun.
It's so exciting.
No expectations.
And if you tuned in for all of the last Academy year, it was the same there. And we were so pleasantly surprised with just the quality of every movie we covered.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see if we have another just all-star year.
Yeah. And, maybe we loved all these movies too. And we'll get right into that right after this. If we had an ad or something.
Oh, I was like, are we plugging?
No, we don't have an ad.
I was like,
no. And I also love that
episode-
you're cutting the sound or the silence. So it's just going to sound like immediately you're like, do we have one?
Yeah,
Do we have one? No, we don't.
Today's episode is brought to you by
We're talking
Crest.
Because we're smiling through.
Exactly.
Wow, what a 1932 advertisement would have been.
I think Colgate was around first.
Well, toothpaste. Have you heard of toothpaste?
It's changing lives.
We're talking about Smiling Through. This is our first movie of the 6th Academy Award year. It came out in 1932. I actually have the date here. Let me see if I can pull it up in like 5 seconds. I can.
The date it was released?
Correct. This was September 24th, 1932 is when this was released into theaters.
Nice.
Smiling Through does have, you're not going to believe this, everyone, one nomination.
We're back.
We're back. We're getting right back into it. The last movie that we covered here was Grand Hotel, and that was another example of a film that was nominated for Best Picture and only Best Picture, in this case, Outstanding Production.
Right.
On behalf of also MGM.
Correct. And we mentioned this as well. Grand Hotel did win, and we said that was the only film ever to be nominated for one Academy Award and taking it home. So it's kind of a spoiler when we'll see that now.
Yeah.
That oh, well, clearly that didn't win.
Right. So sorry about that. But also, you probably have an idea. You can look up. You have the internet.
Yeah, you're looking at it.
But hopefully you're waiting with us to find out in real time, which we also know, but we're not telling.
Yeah.
Kyle, do you want to walk through the cast?
Sure. I will say this was directed by Sidney Franklin, and this stars...
Yeah, are you familiar with this person?
Yeah, I've heard of her. This stars Norma Shearer, Frederick March, and Leslie Howard. Oh, I should say who they are. Norma Shearer as Kathleen or Munyin. Frederick March as Kenneth Wayne or Jeremy. Right? Jeremy?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because they call him Jerry as well.
Yeah, I think Ken for Kenneth and Jerry for Jeremy.
It's too many names.
I agree.
Too many names.
Too many people.
And Leslie Howard as Sir John Carteret. I like to just go with like who's top billing.
Yes.
And then if there's anybody that, like Boris Karloff, if he shows up, that's when I'm like, yes, and also. But those are the three headliners there.
For sure. There's a couple other people, but to be honest, this movie is about 5 people total. There's some background actors, but otherwise there's like 5 characters who have names.
I don't think there's enough background actors.
There's not.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
Honestly, I'll talk about how that affected my opinion of the movie a little bit.
We'll get there too. So this was based on a play that was written by Jane Cowell and Jane Murfin. The Janes are just writing plays.
Yeah.
That's the proof there. And then the movie adaptation of that play was written by Ernest Vajda and Claudine West. So
Very nice.
The plot of Smiling Through, we are introduced very early on to Sir John Carteret.
Yes.
And how he is mourning the loss of his wife, seemingly from years ago. And her name is Moon Yin Claire. I want to go ahead and stop. Moon Yin.
Okay.
How'd this name... Because the first time that we see or hear this name is on a tombstone.
Right.
In the very beginning of the movie. So how did this... name catch you?
So right away, I watched about half of this with Ziggy, and we were both like, well, that's an interesting name.
Right.
Where did that come from? And when I read the synopsis for the movie, I was like, maybe this involves like someone like an international individual or like a
Correct.
Native American or something. I was like, what is this? And then I saw that it was Norma Shearer, and I was like, what?
You're like, well, who cares?
And we looked it up, and this name was made semi-popular from this play and this movie. Like it's an original name.
Not a ton of historical accuracy in the name, just more the name came from the play. They created it.
Yeah.
Copy.
There's some like, oh, maybe it was Irish and it derives from the term little moon or something like that. But it really is like it exists in this, and that's about it.
Not a ton of context then. So, I'm sure we'll find it. But yeah, I saw that name and I was like, what?
Yeah. Who's that?
What's a Moonyin? And then, yeah, it ends up being his wife who has passed many years prior.
Yes.
And he is dealing with this. He is then presented with the idea that, or the truth, that his late wife, Moonyin, her sibling had a child. And both, I believe it's her sister?
Yeah, her sister has a child.
And her husband have died.
Yeah.
And now this 5-year-old needs somewhere to go. And John's like, that's not my problem.
Yeah.
That's not something I can do. And then the 5-year-old walks in and was like, just gives him mouth. It's just like, hey, I don't think I like you very much.
You seem mean.
You seem mean.
You want to look after me for the next 13 years?
I think they both rage bait each other into being guardians. He's a guardian. I thought that was very funny. She's also just very excited to be like, here's my dress, and then check out the panties underneath. He's like, all right, look, we're cool.
Yeah,
like, just,
take
you're
it
fine.
easy. Take it easy.
Let's celebrate a birthday here.
Can I speak on her real
Please.
quick? So Cora Sue Collins is playing the young Kathleen, who eventually becomes Norma Shearer. But she was a child actress who starred in 47 films. She was born in 1927, passed away April 27th, 2025.
Oh, wow. Recently.
Last year.
98.
She was one of the last living actresses from like the 1920s, 1930s.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
That's nuts.
She's very cute in this movie.
She is very cute.
adorable.
She only has like maybe 3 minutes of screen time, if even.
Not a lot.
But very effective. And it's very funny how she just, again, rage baits this guy. Like they both make each other so mad that you're like, these two are going to get along.
It's very good.
So he decides to adopt. Her name is Kathleen. Decides to adopt Kathleen. And we jump forward in time to where Owen, I kind of want to clear this with you first, that Owen just kind of lives with John. Or at least Owen's there all the time.
Yeah. And well, they are all wealthy people.
Right.
So I guess he's just got this big old place.
So he's like, why don't you just stay with me, dog?
Yeah. Hang out with me.
But that's not even true, because then later on, someone goes to Owen's house and is like, hey, you got to go and see John. And then he ends up going. So unless
I
it was
guess
on
they
the
don't let you
complete other side of the property and he has to drive over. But
It's the in-law suite.
the in-law suite, of course. So Owen, John, and Kathleen are now celebrating her, is it 18th birthday?
I think so.
It's her birthday. And we've jumped forward in time like 13 and 15 years or so. And we then see her striking up a conversation with a potential suitor named Willie that she's not very interested in, but more just passing the time.
I love Willie.
I liked Willie fine. I want to talk about this scene where they're outside.
In the rain.
In the rain.
Yeah.
They're underneath a tree and it's raining and you can start to hear thunder. And then all of a sudden it cuts and there's a crack of lightning that hits a tree and splits it in half. And then the other half of the tree falls burning onto the ground. Mm-hmm. The way that this is cut, I was like, oh, so they died. Like they're standing underneath a tree, and then the camera just immediately cuts to a wide shot of a tree getting split in half with lightning.
Right.
And then it cuts back to them. They're like, we got to get out of here in front of the same tree. And I was like, what? So I don't know. They didn't die.
There's a lot of people playing multiple characters in this, and I think the same can be said about the trees. So
those poor ents. So I'll go ahead and stop here real quick. This movie kind of from this point has a little bit of a gothic feel.
I would say from the opening scene, it does.
Yeah.
We open on the cemetery where Moon's grave exists. And we even go as far as having a ghost in this movie.
Yes. And one of the opening shots is John speaking to Moonyin and hoping for a response beyond the grave. And she appears in like a ghastly form. I love this because they do that old technique of kind of filming her in that spot, but then superimposing that afterwards.
Yeah, so she's kind of translucent.
Exactly.
It's spooky.
It is. And I love the fact that he's not really looking directly at her. He's just kind of like speaking in that general direction, and she tends to be there. That kind of lends itself to more of the ghastly appearance.
Yeah.
And this seemed very gothic to me.
100%.
And then you have that tree scene with like the lightning. Like that's again, I kind of like to talk about how they did this, but
It's a big budget thing. Yeah.
they actually hired lightning to come out and split a tree in half.
Well, it's just like how they used to do the old Twister show at Universal Studios.
True.
Tree gets split in half by lightning there.
Yeah, but then they put fire on it. So again, just a very cool effect. Very happy
cool.
to see it. And then they retreat Willie and Kathleen to the nearest mansion that they can find, which belongs to the Waynes, Wayne Manor, if you will.
Oh my goodness.
I know. And they find a way to sneak in. And it turns out that a place where they think no one has lived for many, many years actually has someone living there. And it happens to be a gentleman named Kenneth Wayne.
Yeah.
I had some questions at first because they're like, yeah, no one's been here for like 10 to 15 years. And I was like, there's a fire.
Right.
There's a fire in the fireplace right now. Like, what do you mean no one's been here
Well,
for 10
that's
to
what's
15 years?
really fun. I think that Norma Shearer's character here gets some really fun dialogue, and she's painted as this very like inquisitive, adventurous person because she's the one that's like, let's go inside this spooky house.
Yeah, it's exciting.
And Willie is just like,
I don't know.
zoinks. Yeah. And he's so funny to me this whole time because she's kind of Sherlock Holmesing the place, looking around, and she's finding letters, and she's like, I don't know. Normally when someone leaves a house, they're not flipping chairs and leaving papers on the floor.
For wedding invitations.
What really happened here? And he's like, I don't know. Has it stopped raining yet? Can we go home? It's very funny.
Not only does she notice the paper, but she clocks that it is a wedding invitation to her aunt, her late aunt.
Yeah.
And their wedding. And to John as well. And she starts then painting or painting the picture of, oh, I know what happened. The guy who lived here, whose name was Jeremy Wayne, he must have saw this invite, and of course he was so in love with my aunt that he ended up taking his own life, and that's why this place has been uninhabited.
Yes.
Makes total sense. And then in comes Ken Wayne, and he says, you know, my dad used to live here, and now I live here as well, and I've just gone back into town. He works in the military, correct?
He was an American who came overseas specifically to join up.
Copy.
He's like, if there's a war, I'm fighting in it.
Right.
And she's like,
Let's
go
talk.
on. Yeah,
You
that
and I should talk.
I like a man in uniform.
She essentially pushes Willie out a window.
She does.
When this happens, she's like, you can leave. That's fine. They drink wine from
1847.
47. That's
Yeah.
what it was. Really fun scene after this where she's having dinner with Owen and John. And they're like, yeah, this 1917 drink is pretty good, huh? She's like, no, 47.
Yeah.
But it's fine. And they're like, where were you drinking a 47?
Yeah. What do you know of 47? And she's like, oh, you know.
Just over at the Wayne Manor.
Yeah.
And of course, it's when she mentions Jeremy Wayne or the Waynes in general that John just feels like he looks like he's seen a ghost.
Yes.
And he's like, well, that's not possible. He's dead. Like, how could this be? And he starts like, this kind of unravels a mystery for him. Clearly, there's a relationship now building towards Kathleen, or between Kathleen and Ken. And John doesn't like this. And we're kind of wondering what this is.
Yeah.
This is where I want to go ahead and stop and say, if you haven't seen this movie and you're interested in what we've described so far, I suggest you go and do that.
I agree. I think this movie is one of the first movies that not only relies heavily on kind of a plot twist, but it's a pretty good one.
I think it is a good one. And here's the problem. I suggest you don't read anything about this.
Yeah.
Don't go on IMDb. Don't look at Wikipedia. Don't look at the description. I'll get into it in a few minutes here. But the description just describe, and this is a problem. In the 1930s, there was an issue I'm starting to see where the synopsis is like what happens at the end of the movie.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's a modern thing or if like you opened up the paper in the 30s to see what's playing and it was that exact thing that's like, and then everybody died.
I'll give you a great example. East Lynne. If you go and read the synopsis of East Lynne, they say that the plot is that a mother who has recently lost her sight goes to visit her son before he dies.
Yes.
And that is the last 10 minutes of that movie.
Right. The last 10 minutes you can't see now.
Right. So what are we doing where that's happening? This is a similar situation. It's not the last 10 minutes, but it's about 30, 35, 40 minutes in. And it is a very large part of it. So again, we are going to spoil this aspect of the movie.
Right.
So if you want to watch this on your own, I suggest you go and do that now. Now, with that said, what we find is that Kathleen goes outside to John to try and comfort him and ask him, well, what exactly is your problem with him? What happened? And he then describes, well, it happened at our wedding, the day before our wedding.
Best scene in the movie.
I thought this was, so what happens is they're sitting outside of their mansion.
Yeah.
And he describes, well, it happened the day before our wedding. And the camera pans to the right. And it cuts into the swamp. And without the camera breaking, all of a sudden now there's a cast of characters that have appeared in that port on the other side of the lake or river, whatever it might be. And they are portraying the day before their wedding. And this is just different characters. And it's happening behind them in real time. I thought this was remarkable.
It's so cool.
I loved this shot. I loved the way it moved. I loved how this led to the party. And then the camera cuts. And then, of course, we see John back, without his makeup and everything because it's back then.
Yeah.
30 years, I think, is what I read in the distance between their wedding.
Yeah, something like that.
And where we are now. So, about 30 years of a difference. And I kind of want to take the time to point out that what happened here was that Lee Garnes was the cinematographer for this movie.
Gotcha.
If you don't remember the name, Lee Garnes was the cinematographer for Shanghai Express.
Ooh.
And won the award for cinematography for Shanghai Express. He left during production, and Charles G. Clark took over, but Garnes didn't get a screen credit. This is me wish casting, okay? I have no proof behind this. This feels like a Lee Garnes shot. This shot that we're talking about of panning to the right feels like a Lee Garnes shot because nothing like that happens again for the rest of the movie.
Sure, yeah.
It's kind of like when we talked about Grand Hotel, and there's a couple of shots where you're like, wow, this is incredible, but it doesn't happen afterwards.
Yeah.
That it just feels like, and this is true for Grand Hotel as well in terms of how it feels, it felt like a different vision than what happened in the rest.
Yeah.
And it makes a bit of sense with the behind the scenes here with cinematographers.
I think that's a big detractor for a lot of these movies is I see things like Shanghai Express that really carry these really unique camera choices. Couldn't use that word in the right context, but you see them throughout the entire movie, and you can tell that like before they started filming, they sat down with a complete storyboard and were like, this is a shot I want, this is a shot I want. And with a lot of these other movies, Grand Hotel, with this movie specifically, it feels like they storyboarded a specific shot and they were like, this is going to be such a good moment. And that's it. Like, I don't know. It almost feels like their storyboard time was very limited and they had to just skip over that and be like, all right, and we'll shoot the rest like a stage play.
Right. It's also interesting to say, we recorded our Grand Hotel episode not too long ago, so this is why it's fresh in our minds.
Sure.
But also, it's interesting that both of these moments in both Grand Hotel and Smilin Through take place within like the 30-minute mark of the movie, because then you're like, wow, this is so captivating. I can't wait to see what happens after this. And you're almost a bit disappointed that nothing like that happens again.
Yeah.
And it just feels kind of not flat, but it's not nearly as interesting as that one sequence.
And I wonder how much of that is, as an audience member, like they're trying to hook you at the beginning. Because I don't know about you, but when I start a movie and I'm being introduced to characters, unless it's done in like a unique way, I'm kind of like, okay, and there's that person, and there's that person. And I feel like I'm just kind of going through the motion. But when they do things like this with these unique camera transitions and things, it keeps me engaged visually as well. Then when you get to the point where the characters and the narrative have to kind of carry it, they remove those hooks, those visual hooks a little bit. And I always wonder if that's a choice.
Maybe, but to me it feels like, well, that was such an easy thing for you. Not easy, but it was so possible for you to do this that I wonder why you can't do things like that afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that every movie should have one shot like that. I'm interested in your cinematography after that. It just wasn't the same.
Agreed.
So I don't mean to disrespect Charles G. Clark like that and say, well, you weren't the one who did this incredible shot. It was Lee Garnes. But I'm saying that it feels indicative of what was possible in Shanghai Express.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to note that nothing like that happened afterwards. But we'll leave that alone.
It could be related to the director as well, Sidney Franklin, because we did say that Lee Garnes worked very closely with Joseph von Sternberg.
Right.
So
It could very well be, and obviously these movies came out not too far apart, so there's chances of, everyone's working on different sets. There's actually some art direction we're going to talk about later, and I looked at the credits for this art director. It's like 20 movies in 1 year, and then it continues. Oh, yeah.
the art director is Cedric Gibbons, is it not?
Believe so, yeah.
That's Cedric Gibbons.
Yeah.
We just talked about him with the Grand Hotel. He's the one that made the
Case in point, man.
Wizard of Oz, Singing in the Rain, Philadelphia Story, Freaks.
Look at IMDb. It's not just the titles in which they worked on, it is how many.
It's insane.
And it is like, if you want to get carpal tunnel, scroll through art direction for Cedric Gibbons. This is a lot.
According to Letterboxd, and I know they add like stuff where he,
Sure.
shows up in extra material or whatever, 842 films.
What? Can you imagine saying I worked on 842 films?
Right. And that's one of those things where Cedric Gibbons, each studio had their people that worked specifically on things. You also have Douglas Shearer, who was the sound designer on this.
Yes.
So that contributes a lot to that. Oh, of course he has so many movies. He's pumping out production design on everything MGM does.
For sure. And I'll go ahead and skip to this part. Talking about Cedric Gibbons, I don't know if you know this or if you read about this. Moon Yin's Tombstone actually appears in one other movie.
Really?
Yes. So obviously it's one of the opening shots of Smiling Through, but Cedric Gibbons was the art director for David Copperfield as well. And so that was 1935 in David Copperfield. If you watch, at one point he's next to the grave of his mother, David Copperfield's mother.
Yeah.
And next to that is Moon Yin's grave.
Really?
You can actually see her tombstone. So
a little Easter
it's a
egg.
nice little Easter egg to see in there. So when we cover David Copperfield later in a couple of years, well, a couple months for us. But yeah. When we get to David Copperfield, we'll be able to talk a little bit more about that. Very cool. But that's for the art direction. I say all of this to say that this is currently leading to the flashback sequence that serves as kind of the middle third, the second third of this movie, maybe the second, like 2/4, either way.
Right.
So
And the best part.
Hands down, I think the best part of this is the flashback that we see.
Yeah.
And we won't go through every bit of it, but clearly it shows that there is a little bit of a romance, one-sided even, between Kenneth's Kenneth's father, Jeremy.
Right.
And Jeremy was infatuated with Moon Yin.
Right. They were like childhood crushes.
Correct. And did not think that John was worthy of this of this honor of marrying her. So he's trying to sweep her away. She's not interested, even though they share a kiss, and he kind of forces a kiss on her. Very ugly.
Rough.
She very quickly is like, let's just forget that happened. Let's go back to the party and everything. And this takes up about 25 minutes of the movie, which, again, I really appreciated this, so definitely watch it. But, and again, we're going to dive right into the spoiler, so heads up if you haven't seen the movie and you're interested in watching this play out in real time, which we fully suggest. It becomes clear that she's not going to leave, and she's going to go through with the wedding. And Jeremy then takes it upon himself, clearly drunk as well, to infiltrate the wedding, which he's been invited to.
Right.
But he like sneaks in specifically through the back door, and he then confronts and says, hey, you can't do this. Now, before we get to the very dramatic part of this, I do want to point out something that I thought was very funny, in that now in weddings, obviously things have changed, because back then he says, the officiant says something and they all say, I will.
Yeah.
Once I do. But there's different verses to it. I thought it was very funny that he comes out and he's like, you're not going to get married. I won't let this wedding happen. And the officiant says what we say now for weddings, that he doesn't say then. But he says, you hold your peace. You sit down and hold your peace.
Right.
And I was like, wait a minute, that's what we do now.
Yeah.
Did we say that now because of Jeremy Wayne? And we're like, we can't have Jeremy Waynes walking around here. Like, if you have something to say it now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah, like this is your one opportunity.
Correct.
That's it.
Yeah.
After this, you can't bust into the room with the spoiler.
It almost felt like a fourth wall break a little bit when the officiant was like, you hold your peace. And then like a wink at the camera.
We're past that point.
Yeah, we're beyond that now.
Yeah.
But I thought that was funny. So he then says, no, I will ensure this doesn't happen. Pulls out a gun. And he is about to shoot John.
Jeremy. No, John. Yes, I'm sorry.
So Jeremy's about to shoot John.
Yes.
And before he can, Moon Yin intervenes and gets in the middle, and she takes the bullet.
She's like, Mr. President.
yeah, get down. And she takes the bullet.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. We talked recently about the first instance of like where we thought there might be blood.
Right.
In the champ of him punching the wall. Turns out in Wings, there's some blood there too, of course.
Right.
But this I thought was one of the most visceral examples of blood yet, because from a gunshot wound, we see through a white wedding dress, like a bullet. And we see like the blood pooling.
It's very striking, that visual.
Is. Yeah. I mean, like, again, in black and white especially, but like seeing a white wedding dress and then like that wound with blood pooling up, I thought was very visual, very striking, like you said. And then this indicates that Moon Yin has been killed. Yeah. And she dies very shortly after being wounded like this.
And I will say, these movies have a way of like being a little melodramatic with deaths. Correct. Especially. I go back and I think about, I think it was Alibi as well, when the like secret agent kind of guy dies and he has like a 20-minute death scene.
Yes.
Yeah. It's very similar to that.
This is a little like, tell the kids I love them.
Right. But it's Norma Shearer, so she's fantastic.
Of course. One thing we actually haven't talked about yet is, you mentioned it kind of at the top, but it's worth mentioning.
Oh, right.
That she, Norma Shearer, portrays both Moon Yin and Kathleen.
Yeah, so in this flashback, when you go back and you see what really happened, she is playing essentially her aunt.
Correct.
As well. And another fun part with this, because there is such a big time jump, Leslie Howard, you get to see him kind of in his youth, but then he's also aged up by like 30, 40 years.
Good makeup too.
Yeah,
because I thought he looked really good in the current years as an older man.
Yeah, his performance as well of playing an older individual is fantastic. His movements are all, I mean, you can tell. I think he falls asleep while he's playing chess at one point.
There's like a running gag of him just like falling asleep while he's playing chess with Owen. Yeah, so and then that also goes for Frederick March as well. He portrays Kenneth Wayne, but he also plays his father, Jeremy Wayne.
Yeah.
So he gets like kind of the most interesting thing for me, where he gets to play a little bit of the hero and the villain. Mm-hmm. Liked that aspect. I thought he did really well in this.
Which is so interesting as well, because last year he won Best Actor for Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Clearly he's versed in this.
Yeah, what a perfect thing to play like the good and the bad.
Well, he's really, really good at it, because he plays weaselly extremely well, but then he plays charming extremely well.
Yeah.
Like just as well. Thought that this was great. Great performance from him. But then this is clearly, we then cut our flashback and we're back in present times. And this is John's hesitation. And John says, like, you cannot be interested in this guy. You can't be with him, because he is the son of a murderer. Yeah. And he took my love away from me.
And your aunt.
Like, how can you love this man?
Yeah.
And the answer is like very easily, because he's so charming and he is not a representation of who his father was. And this kind of is the rest of the movie, is the will they, won't they, is this going to happen? Will John ever approve? And it's considered like this isn't like the greatest love story of all time or anything, or even considered that. That was something that was held more for a movie that we talked about last year.
Shanghai Express?
It might have been. It definitely was.
Grand Hotel?
It was one of them. I've seen something where it was like indicated like the greatest love story of all time. But in reality, I think this is like considered in like a high regard of like a great love story.
Yeah. Aerosmith?
Don't think it was Aerosmith. The greatest plague of all time.
Bad Girl?
It was not Bad Girl. I may have made that up. We'll see.
Perfect.
So this is something that existed for a long time. This wasn't only for this movie. Obviously, we said this was based on a play. That play appeared in Broadway in 1919.
Right.
And then even after this movie, there was actually a 30-minute radio adaptation that was on the radio, for Smilin Through. In 1939, interesting thing, Norma Shearer came back to do Kathleen and Moon Yin as a performance for the radio adaptation.
For the radio, okay.
Correct. So even before and after this movie, there was a legacy of this story and this romance specifically between Kathleen and Ken.
Yeah.
I thought that was really notable. I'm not going to tell you I thought it was like one of the best love stories, but I think on paper and from the first half of this, I was on board. And I think this was the kind of movie where I was like, oh yeah, we're cooking. This is great. I love the direction of this. And unfortunately, we tend to see a trend here. The last movie we've talked about was Grand Hotel, and we talked about how this had a very interesting and promising first half, and then failed to follow through in the back half. Now, this movie is about maybe 90, 95 minutes long. It's not terribly long.
Yeah.
but there is something on the back end that doesn't feel as forward projecting as the first half does.
Right.
Did you feel that way?
Totally. Okay. After that flashback, I really was starting to lose interest. And I think what happens a lot, I mentioned how much I enjoyed Norma Shearer's character when she's in the haunted house and she's like deducing what happened in this story and all of that. She feels like a real character and a really engaging character. And I think a lot of the times for me, what happens is once you have these characters start to interact with each other, especially when a romance builds, they fall into a very like narrow box and it just becomes a romance. This guy says the sweetest things ever. She says, "Oh, thank you, my love, my dear." And that's kind of it. You lose a lot of the very personal traits of these people. And then I'm just like, okay, they love each other. Cool.
Yeah, and there's a couple scenes where I think this is really sold, but unfortunately a lot of that falls in the first half of the movie. Mm-hmm. Even before the flashback sequence, we see where Ken and Kathleen get breakfast together or lunch.
Yeah.
And they're eating lunch, and it's been 3 hours since they've eaten lunch. And now they're actually, well, you know what? Why don't we just go ahead and make dinner? You don't serve dinner here? How hard can it be? Why don't you just let us in the kitchen? We'll make some dinner. That sounds easy. And then they end up making dinner for them, so they stay even longer. So they're finding excuses to be with each other for even longer periods of time and stay in one place. I thought that scene of them like not talking the chef into that or the waitress, but more so like them biding time for themselves so they can spend more time together. I thought that was excellent.
I really like the meet cutes in a lot of these movies.
Yes.
And then like the first date where they're kind of like, oh, I don't have to go home right now. Like that kind of environment with the couples. It's when they turn into that like super devoted to each other and just, we have to do whatever we can to be in love. Like that's such a boring trope that shows up in almost every movie. And it really takes me out of it.
Yeah, and I think the problem is that this movie suffers from a back half that is, I have one rule, and I hope you don't break that rule. And she's like, well, I'm going to break that rule. But I wonder if anything's going to happen because of it, or if it's going to be, I break that rule. And then he's like, hey, you shouldn't have broken that rule. And you're like, yeah, I'm sorry, I guess I shouldn't have. And then you aren't with him. But then the war happens. But then you want to be with him, but then you don't. But then you do. And it's a lot of will they, won't they?
Yeah.
And that, it feels like the last half is like 90 minutes on its own.
It does.
It's really long.
It starts to drag.
And it's only like maybe 45 minutes, but it drags so severely.
Yeah.
And then there's even a romance where a side plot where she kind of gets back with Willie a little bit, but not really. I just did Willie and really. Sorry
not
about
Willie.
that. Not Willie. And she, and then of course she wants to be with Ken more than anything, but she feels like she can't because she can't get past this with John.
Yeah.
Uncle John. Really Father John at this point. I didn't mean to do that either.
Father John.
I'm sorry about that. That was not intentional. But then we'll just jump to the end here. And ultimately what happens is Owen gets on John's good side here of like,
You're right.
Hey man, what are you doing? Actually, before that, I do want to talk about one scene that I did think kind of broke up the monotony of this a bit. And that's where John has his first meeting with Ken. And Ken I actually like this scene a lot of the, I'm going to say maid or like someone who works at the mansion.
Oh.
She's trying to get Kathleen's attention without speaking loud
Right.
to interrupt Owen and basically not get John's attention.
Yes.
But to get Kathleen's. And they're doing like a mouthing of words of like, he wants to see you. Like, come see him. And she's like, no, tell him I'm not here. He's like, he won't leave. I thought this was very funny. And then, of course, John's like, hey, I could see both of you. What are you doing?
Right.
Which was great. And she's like, okay, look, he's here. Ken's here. And she's like, okay, well, I'm going to go see him. He's like, you can't. And she's like, can I just bring him in? He's like, fine. So Ken comes in and he has this whole like little speech of like, hey, I hope you can kind of see past everything that happened with my family. Like, please know that's not me.
Right.
But I have the best intentions with your kind of daughter. And John stands up and then has probably my favorite line of the movie. It just kind of struck me the way he said it, where he says, I understand only one thing about a Wayne. The quality of your breed is not to take its medicine. Which, I got to be honest, if someone said that to me, I'd be like, that is the most offensive thing that I've ever heard, and I don't know what it means.
Right.
I can't decipher that right now, but like, how dare you?
You don't say things to me I can't understand. How dare.
That's how I felt in that moment of like, man, that's a bar. I don't know what it means right now, but that is a bar. I really liked that line, and you could tell it kind of cuts deep for Ken too. But this just completely cements the idea of like, I'm never going to be okay with this.
Right.
And then that cuts to later on when Owen is having this conversation of like, look, man, if you want her to be happy, this is just what you have to do. You have to let this be in the past, and you have to look past these things. You got to make peace with this. And ultimately he decides, if I want any kind of semblance of a relationship with her, I have to get past this. And he does very quickly kind of turn around and be like, hey, go get him. He's waiting for you. Like, why don't you go get him? But also, one request, can you bring him here so I can meet with him? Because I'd like to see both of you.
Yeah.
Meaning, not in like a confrontation way, but more like, I'd like to be a part of your life with this. And she's thrilled, and she's like, absolutely, and she leaves. And this is when she stops by Owen's house on the way out and being like, hey, you should go over to John. He's got great news. Like, go see him immediately. But the way she says it, she definitely buried the lead, because she's like, you got to go see John right now. Bye. And leaves. And Owen's like, so he's dead. Great. And he like rushes over. And when he rushes over, I yearn to have this kind of like comfort in being a landowner where I'm just sitting on my back deck at my chess game, and someone just runs in and they're just like, I'm here to help. And he's like, oh, hey man, what's up? He's not like, what's the matter? He's like, oh, what's going on, dude?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I thought you were like in trouble. He's like, nope, just sitting here. He's like,
Want to play chess?
Cool, let's play chess.
Yeah.
And then fills him in like, nope, she's going to get Ken. They're going to be together and they're going to come here. Great. Owen's very proud of him. And they play their game. Do you want to take over from here?
So this is hard because I've had started to lose interest at this point.
I can tag in where you need me to.
Yeah, really, all it boils down to is like he gives them his blessing, and then he dies.
He dies. He dies in the trope that we've already said of him falling asleep during his game, where Owen's like, wake up, you old so and so, you dropped your cigar, but he's dead, and that's one thing, but it does lead itself to an extended scene where he is now appearing as an apparition the same way that Mooneen has. And then they share a dance together.
Yeah. And
they're dancing in the backyard together, and then it cuts. So we don't get to see Kathleen or Ken or anything or them finding out. We're just seeing more their John and Mooneen's relationship beyond the grave. And, I think back in watching the movies that we have in the past couple months, I look back to our criticism of East Lynne. And I look back to us being like, well, this is too melodramatic for me. And I hold that opinion.
Yeah.
However, there are examples of this movie being too melodramatic. I think this ending is a little too, like, this movie can't decide if it's gothic or not, because parts of it do feel pretty gothic, especially this ending. But I think there are things that break up the melodrama of this.
Sure. Yeah.
The scene that we talked about of like the memory transition to like the wedding, I thought that was breathtaking.
Yeah.
The camera trickery used for like the apparition side, I thought that was interesting. Even the lines and the chemistry between these characters. That whole sequence of the flashback of the wedding, I thought was really great storytelling too. But then everything after that, it just kind of became like, well, then this happens, and then that happens, and isn't this awful, and this is terrible.
The biggest offender there is Ken goes off to war, and 2 seconds later, he's back getting off the train. And they do this kind of interesting shot where you see just the feet of soldiers getting off, and there's like 3 people who have had a leg amputated. And you're like, oh, is that Ken? No. Is that Ken? No. Is that Ken? And then a guy gets off the train who's blind, and you're like, is that Ken? No. And Ken finally gets off, and
he's got crutches.
He's got crutches, but he still has both his legs.
He's fine. He's injured at the time.
Yeah. But it is one of those things where obviously the whole point of his character is he's come over to join the war, so he needs to come back some way. What makes more sense than an injury? But it does just feel like on this week's episode of Days of Our Lives, like
he went to war, but he's okay. But is he really okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing, and this is kind of, again, like my ears perk up during certain things, but when John comes back, or sorry, not John, when Ken comes back from the war, he's talking with Owen, and Owen's like, hey, yeah, I mean, maybe something can happen between you and Kathleen, who knows, if maybe everything's okay now. And he has another great line that I didn't write down, but I'm paraphrasing. Owen says like, well, she's in love with you, she's infatuated with you, or no, she's in love with you. And he was like, all right, I mean, you're a doctor, like cure her of that,
Right.
cut it out of her. And I thought that was a really cool line of him being like, well, like, what can you do medically to stop her from being in love
Give her
with me?
pills. Fix it.
Yeah. He was like begging him, like, especially like cut it out of her.
Yeah.
Like I thought was a really interesting line. So there's bits like that kind of brought me back into it. But for the most part, it just sits in that melodrama.
It does.
And doesn't do anything to break it up. So it stopped me from really liking it as much as I thought I was enjoying it. I feel bad because I think we said almost the exact same thing about Grand Hotel. I loved the first half of this. I thought it was mesmerizing. And then it just kind of got a little sleepy for me.
Yeah, it's a bummer because I really like Norma Shearer, as we all know. I really like Frederick March, and I think they're a great couple in this together. But it really is kind of like the melodrama, and that's a word that we will continue to use like over and over and over.
I have a feeling.
But it just feels too soapy is really what it boils down to.
Soapy is the right word. But I don't think that stopped me from enjoying what I enjoyed of this movie.
Yeah.
Right? It didn't tarnish the entire reputation of it. It was just more, oh, that's a shame. That this could have been like a 4.5, like a 5-star for me in the way I'm enjoying it. And it just did not pan out that way.
Yeah. And it's really a bummer that it's the romance too that I'm kind of like, okay, yeah, I get it. You guys love each other. Let's move on. Let's get a grip. But I remember when we talked to Kim Luperi about 5-Star Final, and she was talking about like the lengths of movies. She's like, yeah, 5-Star Final was long. And I think that movie's like an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah, she was talking like how ideally movies are like 45 to 50 minutes or like 60.
Yeah, and at some point she said like bring back 60 to 70 minute movies. And this is one of those movies where I was like,
Perfect
she was
70-minute
right.
movie. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
She's right.
Yeah, so it's, I don't know.
If this was 80 minutes long, perfect. Like,
Yeah.
this is right where it needs to be.
And I think the runtime is 98 minutes.
Yeah.
So it is right around
It
that
feels
hour
about 20
40.
minutes too long.
Totally.
Yeah, so that makes perfect
It's so
sense.
weird to say that about like an hour and a half, hour to 40 minute movie, but I get it.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, like even when we're telling each other stories and stuff, you'll be like, yeah, Ryan told that story about 5 minutes longer than he should have. It was a 15-minute story.
Right.
So like you're cutting about a third of that out. So it happens with like storytelling in general. It doesn't have to just be film. I mean, songs can be like, this thing needs to be like 2 minutes less.
Totally.
So it happens. And I think sometimes we just get lost. I don't want to say in the sauce, but like we just get lost in the storytelling atmosphere.
And
So-
that's why I wish so much that the camera work and the imagery was utilized more throughout the entire film, because
Right.
that does kind of justify the run length.
It does. And I think that's what I'm looking for. So I'm looking for a justification of why this story is still going.
Yes.
And the camera work does not give us anything that justifies that.
No. I like the ghosts.
Ghosts are cool.
When the ghosts show up at the end, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm cool with this.
Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah.
But then again, it's just, I had a hard time not hearing like Haunted Mansion
Sure.
playing in the background just
Yeah.
because like they are twirling around. I just heard like the the whole thing. But anyways, one thing I wanted to bring up that I saw in my research was something where it's like, well, I'll tell the story first. It was Frederick March, and he was telling a story to his cousin. So this is a he said, she said situation, so don't look too far into it.
It's all about the he said.
She said, what? How many other podcasts do you think there are that cover the Oscars that are quoting Limp Bizkit songs?
Not enough.
Not enough.
Not enough.
And that's why we're here, everyone.
Yep. That's why you voted us the #1 Limp Bizkit podcast.
And if you're wondering what made us think about quoting Limp Bizkit, it's just one of those days.
Mm-hmm.
So
Every day.
those are the two songs I know. So I'm tapped on
Let's
that.
keep this rolling.
Oh, 3! You're so right. I forgot about that. Anyways, point is, we're a Limp Bizkit podcast now. He was talking with, Frederick March was talking with his cousin, and he had said, yeah, it was really great to work alongside Norma Shearer. She's great, but the only problem is that she's really she wants the best out of everyone. So she would be really upset if someone wasn't giving their best role or wasn't acting up to her par.
Yeah.
And he said specifically our love scenes, the scenes where we're supposed to be in love or passionate towards each other. She really just wasn't happy with my performance in that.
Yeah.
And his cousin was like, isn't that on you? That sounds like it's less about her and it's more on you that you weren't up to the love scenes with her.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I don't know if you ever heard this, meme trend where someone's like, Batman couldn't have gotten this information out of me.
Yeah.
This is it for me.
Right.
Where if like Norma Shearer was like, I don't think you're as in love with me as I need you to be right now. I need you to be more present for our love scenes. I'd be like, and that is the grave for me.
Right.
I will never admit to anyone that I was
Nobody.
not enough for Norma Shearer.
Yeah, nobody would ever hear those words.
So Batman couldn't have beaten this information out of me.
You know what's kind of funny about that? They share a kiss on screen.
I think this is what he's referring to.
And Ziggy and I think Ziggy called it out. She's like, kisses from this era are so funny because they just kind of like press their mouths together.
Yeah.
And like they're not even really kissing. But I had to rewind it because it kind of grossed me out a little bit. They definitely open mouth kissed because there is a long strand of saliva that just like. And I was like, my dude's really trying to please Norma Shearer. He's giving it all he's got.
And this is before like sex scenes existed or anything, obviously.
Yeah.
So I think when he says love scenes, he's including like them
kiss,
kissing.
yeah,
And he wasn't enough, like his kissing scenes weren't good enough for her, which again, I'm never admitting this out
Maybe
loud.
that's what happened. Maybe she saw that happen. She's like, yuck.
And she's like, we're done. Can we actually kill him in war? Is
Yeah.
this something we can do? I think John dies in war, actually, everyone. Let's revisit that.
Ken.
John. See, too many people.
It's confusing.
There's only 3 people and there's too
maybe
many.
that was a kiss with John. I don't remember who she was kissing.
Because maybe she was
But it was
Moon Yee.
wet.
And that would make more sense because they have more of a passionate relationship,
Yeah.
right? So maybe that was it. But also, John didn't die in war. So
Nope.
he died in chess.
Neither did Ken. He died in chess. He died in the real battle.
Yeah, the chess battle. Yeah, mixed bag, man. Mixed
Yeah,
bag.
yeah.
I think I'm a little lighter on this than I am heavier in terms of my criticism of it. We'll talk about that with our ratings, but I mean, Norma Shearer, it almost, maybe we should do this. It almost feels like it's easy to kind of skip past how good of a job Norma Shearer does because she's so good.
Right.
So you're not like, hey, let me pinpoint how good she is in this because you anticipate she's going to be. And spoiler alert, she is. She's extremely effective in this role.
And I felt the same way about Frederick March.
Yeah.
I was excited for both of them. And they both exceeded my expectations, I would say.
I really liked Leslie Howard as John as well.
Yeah, and this is the first movie I've ever seen him in, so I was like,
Same.
oh, this is great. Especially with him kind of playing dual roles as well, at least dual ages. He was fantastic.
It's interesting. If you look at the cast, like the credits of this, they actually don't credit Norma and Frederick as Moon Yee and Jeremy. They only credit them as Kathleen and Kenneth and just don't credit Moon Yee or Jeremy because they thought this was like too confusing
Yeah.
for audiences. So they just kind of left it as is. But when you watch it, it's very clear that they're both playing each other.
I think the only time I got confused is when Norma was trying to like explain her relationship to somebody. And she's like, yes, my aunt was in love with John, who is now my father, and I like Ken.
Owen is guilty of this in the beginning of the movie where he's like, you're not going to believe this, John, but your late partner's sister's
Yes,
daughter
exactly.
is here, but your late partner's sister and her husband died. Like, sister-in-law.
Right.
Sister-in-law is the word you're looking for, and niece is the other word you're looking for.
Exactly.
Let's stop like doing this whole this person belongs to this person, which means this.
Yeah.
But when Owen said that, I definitely paused it and was like looking up. I was like, my brother, sister's daughter. Okay, got
Yeah.
it. Like I'm there. What you're describing is my niece. He went a long way about it. But I did enjoy a large portion of this. I can't say I loved the back half, maybe the
Agreed.
back third.
Agreed.
But it brings the movie to a screeching halt.
I feel the same way.
But I will say, I have a feeling that that my rating would have been a little bit higher if I hadn't read the synopsis for this.
Do you think it spoiled it for you?
It did.
Yeah.
Because I was like, what do you mean? Like, if I had waited 5 more minutes, I wouldn't have seen this synopsis and I would have just gotten this organic story. And I would have been like, whoa, what a twist.
I think that's where my ability to have my eyes glaze over really came in clutch, because I read the synopsis and I was like, huh? And then I watched the movie and I was like, oh, okay.
But when you read the synopsis, you're like, yeah, it definitely says this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, now in hindsight, I'm like, spoiler.
Yeah. Like, it really needs to be the first 10 to 15 minutes of this movie, and that's the synopsis. But instead, it's like, no, this is what Remember Me is about. You remember the movie Remember Me?
I do remember.
Right. So if they're like, hey, it's a 9/11 movie, you're like, well, no, the last scene is, but like, it's not a movie about that.
Right.
So
right.
again, don't read IMDb. if you've gotten this far, then it's all for nothing.
Sure.
But my hope is that people can watch this movie and not read those synopses, I guess, and walk into this blind, because I think that's the best way to do this.
I agree. Totally agree. I don't have a lot of other things to say about this, really.
No, I mean, I think it was smart of us to not break down every single thing that happens, because you can kind of summarize the 20-25 minutes of the wedding flashback
Yeah.
with just drama and there's a shooting.
Right. And you can cover everything in the synopsis, really.
Unfortunately, yes.
there
Which
is that.
we'll try not to do, or continue to do not moving forward. Or continue not to moving forward. Wow. Words. So, do you want to hop into our ratings?
I do.
Okay. I think you should go first.
I was a little more critical of this.
Sure.
I think I was tired after a long day of Six Flags, and I was like, wow, my body hurts. That thing really whipped me around.
You were invited to the mansion, right?
The Monster Mansion?
Yeah, you were invited
Yeah,
to a picnic.
I was.
I can't remember the next line. This joke is for like two people,
Right.
who've been to Six Flags and know this ride and know the song attached to it.
Side note, Monster Mansion is so scary.
It's so scary.
I was terrified,
You're going the wrong way.
and we went the wrong way.
My favorite part is the back end where he like sees you, the sheriff character who looks like Barney, and he's like, "Okay, this way out." That like vocal stem has stayed with me.
When we were headed into the marsh, there was like something that mildly resembled an alligator, and it so perfectly turned its head and was looking directly at me.
Did you think it was weird when it says the word Kyle?
They program it like E.T. He's like, "Welcome to the marsh, Kyle."
But my favorite thing about that, we're so in the weeds. My favorite thing about that is how his voice has gotten warped over time, because the ET ride was like introduced in like the 90s. So now they're like, "So long."
Yeah.
That's not my name, but
So
okay.
long, sound of gears. It's very scary, Monster
But yes,
Mansion.
you were at Six Flags.
I was at Six Flags. So yeah, I really started losing interest in a big way in
Clearly.
here, and that's kind of a bummer. So I gave it 2.5 stars.
Sure.
Which, again, feels low.
Do you think revisiting this that would change, up or down?
Maybe. I probably. It's one of those things where I think every time I rewatch any of these movies, I'd be like, okay, well, I know what's coming. I know what I have to look forward to.
Sure.
And I know when I can probably check out a little bit and enjoy other parts of this movie more.
Let me ask you this. How often, when you had watched in previous years, where you've seen these movies before and you're revisiting them for the pod, how often did your rating increase on that second viewing?
Pretty often, I would say.
Okay. So more than likely, you'd be at like a 3 when you revisit this.
Yeah.
More, not guaranteed.
Yeah, but probably.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. And I feel like it'd be the same thing for me too. Like we talked about Grand Hotel on our last episode, our last movie episode. And I feel like it'd be the same thing for me, where maybe I'm a little bit higher as I revisit it because I have no expectations now.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that I was a bit higher on Smiling Through than you. I rated 3.5 stars. Now, you might be asking yourself, did you do that because Kyle is listed as 2.5 stars and Bryce is listed as 3 stars? So you just rounded it out with 3.5? Perhaps. But I did really like the first half of this.
Yeah.
And I thought the camera work of the memory transition to like the day before the wedding, I thought that was great. I really liked the gothic style of like the ghost apparition like appearing on screen. I thought that the twist that's introduced on this was done really well. I like that it comes at the halfway point, and I wish that this came more organically for me and not reading it on IMDb as the first sentence of the synopsis.
Sure.
Because at first I was like, oh, I'm watching the wrong movie. I was like, oh no, this just hasn't happened yet. So why are we doing that when I'm like 40 minutes into this movie?
Yeah.
So for those reasons, I really wanted to like Smiling Through, and I think I pushed a little bit more. I also think Norma Shearer is doing great work here.
She's so good.
I have a feeling I'd probably still be at 3.5 on a second rewatch of this. Maybe a little bit lower. I don't know if I'm going to go much higher than this for Smiling Through. Maybe. I feel like more Grand Hotel I'll probably revisit and like maybe be a little more keen on.
Yeah.
But I liked Smiling Through.
I feel like we got just about everything we wanted to from this movie.
I agree.
And there's the parts we didn't like. I don't think there's a lot to pull from that we could enjoy more on a rewatch.
Something that I think is worth revisiting in the future or looking back on is the what if of these. You know, we talk about how with 1 Hour with You, there was another director who came in, and then Ernst Lubitsch came back and then took the rest of it. Like, what would have happened if Ernst Lubitsch didn't come back? What would have happened if Ernst was here the entire time? In this same place with Lee Garnes, what would have happened? What kind of movie would it have been if Lee Garnes wasn't involved or was involved through the whole entirety of the movie? I have a sneaking suspicion that shot that I love so much was a Lee Garnes idea, based on what we've seen in Shanghai Express. So I wonder what the rest of the movie would have looked like. Or to your point, maybe it was more a decision made by Sidney Franklin on this.
Could be.
So
could be.
Who's to say? But just with that information, I'd say 3.5 stars is where I feel most comfortable.
I think that's solid. How about your double feature?
So my double feature, we keep talking about Grand Hotel. I did something in Grand Hotel with a double feature for Love Actually from the director Richard Curtis.
Right.
And it's funny because this movie also reminded me of the romance angle of how long your love can last even after passing. And Richard Curtis does this as well in his 2013 film About Time.
Ah, yes.
I love About Time. Any movie that you can introduce the supernatural idea of time travel and blend it into, like, is it a supernatural sci-fi movie? No, it's just a rom-com, really more of a rom-dram, but that happens to feature time travel. And I love this movie. And I think that this handles the idea of loss and what you do with your time and every.
Continue.
Are you good?
I dropped my pen cap. That's all.
Okay.
This is very sad.
I wasn't sure if this was the end of Smiling Through, where you've dropped your cigar and I'm like, wake up, dummy.
Right. That's it.
You're just dead. End of pod. I think that this movie handles the idea of loss and what you would do to keep that and time moving through your hands in a really adept way. Is that the word I'm looking for? I love the way it handles the romance of this.
I'm sorry, is this the one with Rachel McAdams and Channing Tatum?
You're thinking of The Vow.
Okay.
For anyone who's not aware, I just want you to know, vast knowledge on rom-coms. So come at me with that.
No, so many.
You're talking about The Vow. What I'm referring to is Rachel McAdams and Domhnall Gleeson.
Oh.
Bill Nighy's in this as well.
Have I seen this movie?
It's I think you have.
I rated it.
You rated it.
That doesn't mean I've seen it because
I hope it does. I would love to imagine that it does mean that.
Normally
actually.
It does, but
you should see this movie.
I might be thinking about it.
It might be a little. This also kind of hinges on the melodrama just a little bit, but the Richard Curtis of it helps it feel a little lighter than that. Devastating movie, but I love it. Reminded me a lot of Smiling Through in the sense of John and Mooneen's relationship and what they go through, and the idea of him seeing her through time with like apparitions reminds me of About Time a good bit. So I'm keeping the Richard Curtis trend alive, even though that was last month.
I like it. I have seen this movie. Weird. I have no memory of that.
Fun fact: we played the song, not the song, but one of the songs in this movie is How Long Will I Love You? And we played that at our wedding. I think that was when my mom and I danced. I chose that song.
That's very sweet.
It's a great song.
Well, I feel bad for being like,
no, you should.
I may have seen it. I don't know.
I think it's really funny that you're like, well, I rated it, so that doesn't mean I've seen it. I was like, that's exactly what it should mean.
Well, I just meant like maybe I put the wrong movie down.
We should pre-rate movies. We should get the ability to be like, this is how much I think I'm going to like this movie.
That's not a bad idea.
And then compare it.
That could be fun. So my double feature, I was going to go with the wonderful film starring Robert Pattinson and Emily DeRaven, Remember Me.
And then I ruined it.
You totally spoiled and ruined.
You weren't for real.
I was.
For
That's
real?
what I was going to put, yeah. And then you nonchalantly brought it up and just ruined everything about my plan.
Homie.
So
I cannot believe that.
Instead, I'm going to go with the 1983 film Return of the Jedi. Because there are ghosts dancing at the end with Ewoks.
I need a minute. I cannot believe you're going to choose Remember Me.
Yep. So,
are you a fan of that movie?
I like Remember Me a lot.
Really?
I think when you get to the end of it, when I first saw it at that age, I was like, oh my God. And now when I watch it, I'm like, yep, here we go.
That's one where if I was in the theater and I saw that, I'd be like looking around of being like, not even like a shocked way, just more like, what?
Right.
This is what we're doing. Whoever, I mean, I guess we spoiled it already, but whoever's seen Remember Me, and let us know your thoughts. So, Return of the Jedi does, in fact, feature ghosts dancing.
It does.
You're right.
3 ghosts.
I'm surprised you didn't do Fellowship of the Ring Extended Edition with that little parade of the ghosts walking through the forest. You know what I'm talking about?
Those aren't ghosts.
Are they not? The green apparitions?
They're just elves.
I thought they were like glowing green.
They're just pretty.
I wish I glowed green. Wow. Glowed green when I was pretty.
Well, you know, it's not easy being green. Anyway, Return of the Jedi. Yitcha. And check out my double feature of Smilin' Through and Return of the Jedi.
I think we should still count Remember Me.
I already crossed it out in my notebook, so there's nothing we can do about it now. So,
oh, I cannot believe that happened. Yeah, let's just put this out of its misery.
There are confusing relationships in Return of the Jedi, if I really need to dig in.
That's true.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, I'm your sister. And she's like, whoa.
That's
right.
true. They're not just like, you're my sister. They were like, well, there's your dad who happens to be my father.
Yeah.
And then he had a daughter, which makes you my sibling. Like,
Yeah.
We're just siblings. Just say that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right. There you go.
And then Han Solo's all like, oh, which is how I was when I finally realized, oh, that's her niece.
Yeah.
Perfect.
He also comes out of carbonite in that movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is similar to when Ken gets off the train.
Exactly. Because you're like, hey, are you like dead? And he's like, nope, completely fine.
Perfect double feature.
Just give me a minute.
Yeah. And there's a couple times where you think that John is dead, but somehow he returns.
Much like the Jedi.
Oh, I was going to say Palpatine, but yeah.
Somehow
Palpatine's return.
Different movie.
Anyway, that's my dumb double feature because you ruined my good double feature. So, anyway.
I have no words.
That's Smiling Through. If you have any thoughts on this movie or any other films from the 6th Academy Awards, we made it. I'm so excited to get to a new year.
We're here. We have new movies to talk about. It's going to be a really nice year. 10 nominate. Is this our first year of 10 nominations?
I think it is.
Because last month it was like 8, maybe 9.
We had the 98th Academy Awards that had 10 nominations.
Oh,
So-
sure. But
yeah, historically, this is the first time this many films
this is the
were
first
nominated.
year
Yeah,
of the Oscars with 10 nominations.
absolutely.
For Best Picture, that is.
So if you have thoughts on those movies or even the fact that there are 10 of them, shoot us an email at outAOpodcast@gmail.com. Check out the Patreon at patreon.com/outAOpodcast. Rate and review the show on your podcast platform of choice. Listen to me say podcast 87 more times and stay tuned for next episode. These are going to be coming out like 3 episodes a week this month,
Right.
because there are so many. So if you are watching these movies along with us, sorry, you kind of have to crack down. It's tough for us too.
Or if you're Ashton, I know you're thrilled because she's like, I'm caught up. What do I do now? He's
Right.
like, don't worry. There will be 3 episodes coming out every week.
Work harder is what you have to do. Yeah. But next episode we'll be covering
Remember Me.
I Am a Fugitive from a Chain Gang. So I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I've heard really good things. And it's the return of Mervyn Leroy.
Yes. Yeah.
Very excited.
So stay tuned for that. But until next time, I'm Kyle.
I'm Ryan.
And we'll see you at the movies.